Hello and welcome to Leviathan News. I'm Sam, and I'm here with Wajahat today. What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing very well. It's been a long time since I've last been on the show, but a pleasure to be back, and pleasure to always chat with you, Sam.
Yeah, it's great to have you back. I mean, we've been chatting, but it's been a little bit since you've been on. This how's 2025 been treating you, man?
It's man, it's been hectic. I think the markets have been fun. I mean, maybe December, January, we had some crazy kind of market conditions with AI agents, and now my head's been completely just focused on Berachain and launching the products that we're building on Berachain. So yeah, I think it's just going to get even better. This year's going to be fun.
Yeah, it's funny how we go through these cycles like we just did with all the AI agent coins, where we have a new paradigm, we have a brand new technology. The run-up was pretty incredible, and the narrative dominance on the timeline was also was just hard to get away from, right? But
Yeah, I think it
now,
was everywhere.
but now everything's down like 80-90% or more, and there's real questions about like what exactly does the AI agent economy of the future mean? Is it actually going to capture any value? It's just like a lot of questions that we have now going forward.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, we're in crypto. We have to remember, like, most of the time we're trading attention or we're trading ideas, and you hear the phrase quite often. Price leads fundamentals, and that also goes in the right direction when things are going well, and everyone believes it's a new paradigm. I think even myself probably got caught up in this as well. But then when the price goes the other way, then people start questioning, hold on a second, what is this idea? What is this attention that we're trading? Maybe people start to wake up a little bit then. But that, we've seen that time and time again in crypto, and I guarantee you, Sam, it's going to happen again.
Yeah, everybody always it's hard to think about like what's going to capture value for the long term, and what's just kind of like hot air, because there's so much that runs through people chasing tokens. The magnanimity of the token price increases this year feels like on a whole new level comparatively for some of the launches that we've seen of going. It used to be that like hitting $1 billion in market cap used to feel like a really big achievement, but now $1 billion is kind of like the start. And especially with some of these AI agents, they're running up to like 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 billion, and then coming all the way back down to like less than $1 billion now. And then we also had the Trump token as well too, which ran to like 70, 80 billion.
Yeah, that was just absurd. Yeah, absurd. I think it just goes to show like what a crazy market we're in. Yeah, and I don't think that's going to stop anytime soon.
Yeah. Well, I know that there's always a story about how if you just focus on the fundamentals at the end of the day, like you'll always do better in the long term. And I think I've seen this over my 7 years, or soon to be 8 years working in crypto full time, is that the boring stuff is usually the best stuff to invest into. Like if you had just bought Bitcoin and forgotten about it, or if you had gotten into DeFi and just yield farmed all the way through, or just done like really boring things that's not chasing hype, you're probably going to typically outperform everybody else.
Maybe I'd probably separate DeFi and Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin, sure, yeah, you probably could have bought that. I think DeFi also comes in one of these categories of crazes that happen. Everything runs up and then everything comes back down. So yeah, I think at times, I think most people probably should have just bought a portfolio of Bitcoin, ETH, Sol, maybe even XRP, and just sat on it and did absolutely nothing. Carry on living your lives, or build a crypto business, or do something that you want to do for enjoyment. And yeah, you probably outperform these traders who are like on deck screener, like on a 1 minute time chart, and like trying to find the next airdrop and this and that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask that because you, I mean, like on, is it tomorrow? Is today the 5th? Tomorrow is the launch of Barachain.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 6th. And this has been a long time coming. And I'm just trying to figure out mentally like where Bara fits in. Like, is the hype real? And are we going to be, you know, is it going to go down the same like path as Blast, where there was a lot of hype and attention in the beginning, but then it wanes and everybody rotates into something else? Or is there real like sticky value being created here?
Yeah, it's a very, very interesting question, and I've seen a lot of people kind of have this take as well, like Barachain versus Blast. For me, it's very simple. I think first of all, you have to remember like Blast is an L2 chain, and so it basically has somewhat of, it's kind of limited in the sense that it's kind of like a lot of the other L2 chains that we have today as well. So I feel like there's some limitation in kind of its upside. You have Arbitrum, you have Base, and things like that. But I think more importantly, from an ecosystem perspective, for me, one of the things that I think is most valuable, it's not about certain metrics like daily active users or TVL or stuff like that. I think this stuff's still important, and Berachain thrives on those things as well. But I think one thing that I really like is the total number of things to do on the chain. And often when you go to some of these new layer 2 chains, right, you just have forks and copy paste kind of Uniswap forks, compound forks, Aave forks. It's just kind of the same thing again and again. And I think Berachain really dominates in two sectors, two specific sectors really that I think will really let it shine. The first one is DeFi, and the reason why it shines is firstly there are tons and tons and tons of novel, unique, innovative applications with new primitives. And this is all because of Berachain's economic advantage, proof of liquidity, which gives these DeFi apps an advantage over every single app, no matter what chain you're on, whether you're on Solana, whether you're on Ethereum, whether you're on any of the L2s. This POL dramatically changes how DeFi protocols will function. So I think this is one area where they really dominate in. Because of that, you've seen a lot of builders pick up on this early and develop really interesting protocols. And the other sector where I think Bearer really, really shines is like the consumer apps, the kind of fun experiments. And I think when you combine them together and kind of the lore and the cult and everything that Berachain have been building branding wise over the last 3 years, you've got a very, very, very interesting kind of application level and also chain level. So I can't wait for it. I've been waiting for it for a long, long time, and I genuinely think it's going to be 10x that of Blast.
Yeah, because Blast was just singularly focused on points farming, and I don't know if there is anything novel there when people
No, I
win.
don't. No, I think one of the things is with Blast, right? Like people were just depositing into a contract and earning points, right? Like Berachain didn't have anything as such, right? Recently there was the Boyko program, and that was actually to bootstrap the chain itself. The TVL that they've been able to gain there, the $3 billion that they were able to pick up in like a week, that capital doesn't just go into a smart contract. It actually goes into the applications themselves. And so when the chain goes live tomorrow, you'll see that the likes of Kodiak or Baraboro or Infrared and even the native DEX itself, Baraswap, they're going to have hundreds of millions in TVL for like active capital that people will be able to utilize straight away. So I think that's like a key difference. But I think like one thing that you notice with a lot of chains, right, is that they're constantly battling with each other. Oh yeah, this is how many TPS I have. This is the time to finality. A lot of it is like tech related kind of upgrades that we're seeing, parallel execution, all of this other stuff. But Berachain has something which other chains aren't really innovating on, and that's economics. And that's where I think like Berachain really stands out from the likes of Monad and Hyperliquid EVM and Mega ETH. By having like this economic incentive layer through proof of liquidity, where the validator rewards don't go into the validator pockets, rather it goes directly into the ecosystem itself. And I think that just creates like this extra level of rewards that are perpetual forever and ever, that I think protocols can benefit from a lot.
Well, let me just pause there to take a minute for our sponsors, which is FX Protocol. I know you like them a lot, don't you, Watch?
Yeah, I'm big fans of FX. They're great.
Yeah, they are great. They've just released their V2 system, which allows for leverage up to 10x on certain products, and it's pretty cool. They also have their stablecoin as well too. I know that both you and I are like stablecoin farmers, and they have good yields. I think it's in the 30s right now for their FXN token. So always a big fan of FX. You can find a link in the show notes and also come on to the Leviathan News Telegram at Leviathan_news to find more about FX protocol. Well, cool. I wanted to come back to Hyperliquid because in 2024, they were the top narrative of this time period. Everything was just Hyperliquid madness. And they've really proven how you can take a novel idea on L1 design and, really build a great consumer or crypto consumer product. And I think that their scope of what they're trying to do of just not having the decks that they've built out, but additionally the L1 EVM that they're launching soon. I'm wondering how the mind share capture, which is going to go there, because what I'm thinking about Hyperliquid is probably the opposite of Berachain, where Berachain has an incredible amount of apps that are being built, consumer focused. That's already there, but the high speed L1 or high speed DEX trading experience might be lagging, just because that's not their specialty. But on Hyperliquid, it's a little bit flipped, where they already have the DEX, perp DEX, and now they're trying to figure out, okay, what apps can we build? And you don't know if those apps are going to be any good or those teams are very strong. But we do know that on the Berachain side, there's a lot of really connected builders, very smart, like OG DeFi 1.0, 2.0 guys that have come over to build there. So I'm wondering how the next 2 quarters, 3 quarters play out as we see the differences arise between those two environments and networks.
I think first thing that I'd say is not everything needs to be like this high speed TPS kind of product. I think there's plenty of block space actually. If you look at places like Arbitrum and Base, we can scale the block spaces. We can still cater for a lot more demand before we need any sort of other kind of scaling solutions in that regard. In terms of product wise, Hyperliquid is fantastic. One of the best places that you could probably do your derivative trading as well. I think the thing that I'd say is that when it comes to ecosystem is that it takes a while to build this out. One of the reasons why Berachain has such a phenomenal ecosystem, and I'm talking about 300 plus applications, 50 plus really high quality, DeFi applications, dozens and dozens and dozens of VC-backed applications on Berachain, is because technically Berachain's been around for 3 years, right? And so there's applications like our own that we've been building for the last 2 years. And we're not on our V1 anymore. We're on our V3 coming up now. And the difference is that the chain's not live, but these products have actually been around for a long time, and we've been able to iterate on them. And so one thing that you notice is that when new chains go live, for example, with Hyperliquid, or even some of the other kind of recent L2s that we've had, the chains go live. And then it takes another year or so before there's anything meaningful that kind of comes onto those chains. I think we saw this with Sui and Say kind of maybe a couple of years ago. Now there's a few different apps there, but for the last year or so, there hasn't really been that much. There hasn't been that much for people to do. The TVL metrics are low. The number of users are still fairly low, and it's not really that interesting. It takes a little while for this sort of development to come. But in the case of Berachain, because it's been around for such a long time, we have a thriving ecosystem day one. I think tomorrow is going to be absolutely crazy. And in fact, I think the next 12 months are going to be absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Just because I think for me, one of the most interesting metrics to look at is the total number of things to do. And I don't mean another compound fork, another Aave fork. I'm talking about novel, unique things that people can do, both in DeFi and outside of DeFi. And I think when you kind of have an environment like that, you create a chain that people will love and people will come back to again and again and again, because there's really high quality applications there.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the novel aspect because most L2s or other L1s just launch with like the same cookie cutter compound Ave uh, forks, right? And it takes a long time for teams to try to innovate. I think this is why you saw the big push for gaming in like 2023 and 2024 because I think the limits of kind of the ODG or OG DeFi 1.0 apps had been expanded to like a pretty sizable point. There wasn't it was pretty competitive there, and so people started exploring different verticals that they could drive consumer growth. But it doesn't always have to be there. I mean, I remember all the way back to Polygon, uh, and Polygon had a bunch of cool stuff. They had like liquidity forks. They had a Uniswap, a quick swap there. They had a bunch of things on. Oh, they had this little like space game that you could play as well too, which was all like really fun and early at the time. And then when Arbitrum came out, I mean, obviously you had GMX there, which was pretty cool and drove a lot of growth. And then Base kind of went a little bit different and had their on-chain summer, um, and really didn't have a bunch of stuff at the beginning, but they made a bunch of either like art projects or just little test cases to get people over before all the DeFi products like Aerodrome were built out. So I'm really excited to see what Bearchain's like DeFi released on-chain strategy is, so that they could hopefully compete with Base and Arbitrum.
I think they'll completely outcompete them. Like the ecosystem is miles better. And I'm talking about like when you look at DeFi, right? You've got like your standard stuff like your dexes and your lending markets and all kinds of stuff. But I think what's interesting is on Berachain, like when you add in POL, like those experiences just become so much better. And then you have like the kind of fancy or like kind of funky stuff, like what we're building with derivatives on through IVX. You have kind of being able to leverage any asset through kind of protocols like exponents. You have really interesting LST designs and LRT designs that we've never ever seen on any other EVM chain before, with the likes of Vase and Infrared with a bribes layer and all that kind of stuff as well. I think you have like really fun game theories kind of related products like Yeet. And then I think like on the consumer side of things, you have really fun stuff like you have something called Over Under, like prediction markets for Twitch streaming. You have tokenized real world assets in the form of racehorses. You know, you can actually buy a racehorse now, and that's been tokenized and brought to Berachain. You've got kind of consumer apps like Pulse, which are like these digital health wearables that you can kind of monetize your health data when you're doing your exercise and all kinds of stuff. You've even got funky stuff like Puff Paw doing like vape to earn, or like no nicotine like vapes where you can essentially stop smoking. So there's honestly dozens and dozens and dozens of these kind of apps. Honestly, there's 300 plus apps. There's like 50 plus that I would love to use as well. So I think just from the ecosystem alone, I think it's going to be good. It's going to
Yeah.
be good.
Yeah, and it's tomorrow. Like it kicks off. Like, how do you get access to it? Like, because I've yet to have time to go over to Boyko or use the testnet. Like, what do I need to do tomorrow?
So so Boyko was the like pre-launch program where essentially they want to solve the cold start problem that a lot of chains have, and so they basically created this program where people can deposit assets like Bitcoin, ETH, and stablecoins. They get deposited into a variety of different applications, and Berachain gave away 2% of their supply. These assets are locked for a period of up to 3 months, so the chain's going to have liquidity straight away. Solves the cold start problem, and also applications can pay a fair price for liquidity as well. That's closed now. The chain goes live tomorrow. It'll be integrated with pretty much all of the infra that we're used to. So you'll be able to bridge from layer 0, probably like 10 other bridges as well day one. It's going to have centralized exchange listings everywhere, so you'll be able to get exposure there if you wanted to. But yeah, just bridge in from layer 0 Stargate. Shouldn't be a problem. And yeah, I guess it's just a case of like seeing like how quickly all of the apps can deploy. I think tomorrow is going to be a little bit congested, probably, given just how many things are launching and how many everyone's going to be claiming their airdrops. And I think there's some NFT mints happening and all sorts of stuff. So I think for the next few days it's going to be very, very busy. But I think we'll probably end up seeing like 100 plus apps deploy this month.
Oh, wow.
and then it's just a case of like just playing around with them. Some of them will be fun apps, some of them non DeFi apps, some of them sophisticated DeFi apps. Like there'll be all kinds of stuff. The yields should be really good too, because BGT gets started from tomorrow as well. BGT, for those of you unaware, is Berachain's governance token. Berachain has a 2-token model. They have Bera, which is like the tradable token, just like every other layer one chain, and they have an extra token which has to be earned, and that's called BGT. And you earn this by doing economic activity on the chain. So, for example, let's say if you did some economic activity on our app, IVX, you'll receive a token, a receipt token. You can then stake this token and earn this governance token called BGT. Now, BGT itself isn't transferable, but gives you governance rights, and there is this whole bribes layer that's involved. It's essentially bringing something like Curve to a chain level, and so you can applications can bribe validators for incentives of BGT to their own application as well. There's a whole game. There's a lot of game theory here to play as well, which I think just makes it really, really fun. And I think if anyone watching, I think a lot of you guys here who are watching are, fans of protocols like Curve and Convex, and we remember those good days back in 2021. Those days are coming back starting from tomorrow. So I think, yeah, it's going to be fun to play those same games again, but at a chain level instead.
It's Cosmos chain, isn't it?
No, not anymore. So they changed that. It's now an Ethereum identical EVM chain.
Oh, sweet. That's great. That's awesome. I wonder if they're going to keep on throwing like awesome parties at all of the conferences. The Berachain guys were notorious for their.
I hope they do. It's part of the culture, I think. I hope they do.
The swag is pretty good. I've got a Berachain shirt over here. It's like the Taylor Swift Eras Tour. It's like the Bears Tour.
You need to wear it tomorrow then.
Yeah, I will.
But yeah, I think it's going to be just a lot of fun, and I think it's just refreshing to see like just not another like standard general purpose chain that just doesn't do anything different to what we already have. I love to just see like I think at the end of the day, like people just want applications and people just want things to like play around with, whether it's DeFi or non-DeFi. So I'm just more excited for that than anything else, really.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about to transition a little bit. So the Berachain guys have done a really good job of marketing without having any marketing, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just having a bunch of like industry insiders who are building and shilling at the same time, but they've been able to mobilize like really well without having to run the typical like paid campaigns or spending a ton of money. They've gotten a groundswell of like retail and institutional focus simply from like their own like activities and own BD efforts, or just it's pretty incredible to have seen them execute at this.
Yeah, agree. I think they've done a great job at it, but it's not been like something they've just done, in the span of a couple of months. This is like three years of like hard work that they've kind of put in. But yeah, I think they've one of the things that you mentioned is like, I think attract the quality builders, and you attract the quality builders when you have like a chain that has really good incentives like baked into it, which is something like what Curve has, right? And so why have so many protocols built around the Curve ecosystem? The incentives were great. And put that on the chain level, and yeah, you can create some really, really good, cool stuff. I think all of that, those guys understand DeFi as well, so they understand like the games that we like to play.
Yeah.
Berachain came out of like the Olympus and Frax and Alchemix Discord, right? That's where those guys have been. So I think they understand incentives, they understand tokenomics, they understand design, they understand what chains people like to actually use. And I think like it just kind of cultivated from that, really, and they just create this really fun culture where everyone wants to be like involved. I don't know if it comes from the memes or like just the effort that they've kind of put in to create the culture as well. Whereas like if you look at like a lot of other chains, at times they feel very corporate and they feel kind of very boring to some extent. I think crypto needs to be fun. We're all here to have fun as well, and they've done a great job at like making that happen. And yeah, I think everyone wants to be part of it, so why wouldn't you?
So I wanted to ask, so you're like a content creator, and I know you're doing most of your work on Twitter and YouTube, but I think these avenues are now like the early 2020 methods, right? This was like pre-TikTok, pre-Twitch. Um, Seems like a lot of the new kind of up and coming, like hyped content creators now are streamers that kind of go in line with the wider zeitgeist of like streaming as uh, uh, the most popular way to disseminate information now and to build a brand. You know, you had I don't think we had very many streamers back in not to the same extent, right? Of like, there's this new meta. We may have had people who are doing what we're doing of just like turning on and like talking for a while. Um, but now it's like I'm gonna stream for like 6 hours and just screen share everything, and it becomes a projection of my life and an acquisition of parasocial, uh, like social power into my brand, right? And they've kind of devolved as well too into chasing meme coins of like, okay, it's not so much more about like research and like deep interviews or anything. It's more just like, let's get on stream and pump some shitters and see how much value we can extract from the people who follow us by them chasing our trades. Um, like when you look at it as a content creator, like what do you think about these new mediums like TikTok and Twitch? Like, I don't want to be too boomerish because that's probably what I'm doing here, and these are probably great ways to go out and like build an audience. Um, but I just see it as like a reflection on the space of like where we are in the current moment of like what retail is interested in, right? Versus what like versus everything else, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think I feel like this is just kind of how, I don't know, the human race has kind of evolved over the last decade or two with the advancement of technology, and kind of how we now live in this attention economy. I think people love like to be kind of in the moment a little bit as well, and I think you can definitely get that with streaming. I make predominantly most of my content on Twitter, and I write a little bit, and also make videos as well. But I think streaming is actually really really fun, and something that I've started to like dive into a little bit. I think probably we'll do a little bit more of it as well. I think you can definitely get like a strong connection with your audience. I think that way as well. People can ask you questions in real time, and I think that kind of in real time connection is pretty good. Um,
I've
I
seen I've seen like a couple of projects try to transcend the viewer host barrier though. And I think this is where crypto comes into line with it, right? Where you exist as a content creator with this separation between you and your viewers, right? And I think that we try to close that gap. Like this specifically, this stream that we're doing right now is trying to do that. Like you can read what people write, and you can try to bring them in as much as possible, but it's still like a separation in the content creation. Um, I think some of the things that's happening now is is that uh, the ability to like create and assign value to your stream. So let's say you have a stream, you launch a token for it. People could use the token to like commit you to do certain actions, which like there's a whole wide range of actions and assigned morality which can come with it as well too. Um, maybe somebody pays you money to go out and like slap somebody in the face or something. That wouldn't be great. But if there's like a designated set of actions that people could pay money for using the token, um, I think that kind of like closes the gap a little bit, because you now become a vehicle or like an agent of entertainment for them, um, at the behest of driving token value. It's very strange.
Yeah, yeah. I personally haven't thought of doing anything like that, but I can understand like the world that we live in right now, especially with kind of how, especially with like tokenization now. If Trump can do it, why don't we all do it? It's something like that. Especially if we can add some funky designs to it, where we can utilize those tokens for entertainment value or educational value. Yeah,
Well,
I can understand why people would do that.
Well, this is like almost what we're doing with the AI agents, right? Is that uh, the agents that have these tokens, you essentially use the tokens to control their outputs in like a maximally controlling way, where the agent responds to the value of the token that it's created, and uh, essentially is a slave to the token. Uh,
Yeah.
the thing that we haven't really figured out yet is that translatable into like uh, human interaction through the medium of this token value. And maybe this is some like Black Mirror stuff. I'm sure that people have like used people to uh, maybe you don't need like your own token to do it. You could just do it with like stable coins or Bitcoin or something, but like force people to go out and perform certain actions in like a puppet style uh, value transfer. Um, and I wonder if that's like I wonder if that's what we're moving towards a little bit with this new media, is the incorporation of like value and entertainment and uh, um, just this transformation into this. I don't even know how to describe it. If it's like gambling or like a per action content, but it's almost as if you're taking the advertising auctions that you would find on Google or Facebook and figuring out how to translate that into real life.
Yeah. I think it's just as I mentioned before, like we're in a strange time, and I think it's only going to get stranger. Uh, things just advance faster and faster, and I have no idea what the meta will be like in 5 years' time. But I think it probably could be something a little bit closer to what we've seen on Black Mirror than where we are today.
Yeah. Well, it's just there's this like strange space between, with finance it's so cut and dry. It's like, okay, here's money, it goes up and down. Like we don't really have to assign morality to it unless there's some instance of like fraud or other criminal activity where like one party is hurt. But now, if you're like involving controlling actions for someone through like token uh, burning or acquisition, uh, that it's I think we're heading towards some like really interesting questions about like the role of entertainment and what it means to um, like exist as a content creator in these like later 2020 years, especially with the emergence of all these like video AI stuff. Um, Everything gets more individualized and uh, hyper focused on your own like tailored needs rather than like a broad societal uh, general culture.
So
So
my question to you is, do you like this change or not?
I don't know what I think it's like. I think it like innately it's what we want because we can make it hyper specific into the trends or needs of what one likes. But at the same time, I do think that it's uh, like desensitizing and desocializing at like kind of a broader scale. Because if your every kind of media entertainment desire is met, you really lose the ability to connect with other people at a wide scale. And I think this is maybe like more like boomer Luddite, you know, you don't understand the tech stuff, but um, I don't know. I'm excited. I'm interested to see how it goes. I think there's a lot of like younger people who have like the time and effort to go and explore these trends and put themselves on camera 24 hours a day. That will probably get there faster.
Yeah, yep. I think that just ties into what this attention economy is all about, right? The more you put yourself out there, the more likely you are to get some eyes, and then the more likely you are to grow. I think for me, my motto has always been to do stuff that I find satisfaction in. I find satisfaction in creating education-based stuff. I don't think I find satisfaction in, talking about which meme coin I'm going to be creating and pumping today, or like kind of doing anything around that right now. I don't know what the future is going to be like, but I don't think right now that's anything that I would be doing. I think for me anyway, when it comes to like creating stuff online, it's all about like, finding having some purpose with it. As long as I have some purpose with it, I'm happy with what I'm doing, and I absolutely love every single part of what I do. So I'm happy, and I'm gonna carry on doing that.
Yeah.
Whether it gives me monetary value or not, I'll carry on doing it.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that today because I saw this tweet, I don't know if you saw it as well too, about, like, the criminals that we had versus the criminals that we have now, and previously, it was, like, Do Kwon and
Oh, yeah, I
SBF
did see that tweet. Yeah, I did.
and, PRS Capital's guys, like, really causing billions of dollars of pain while, like, SBF in the previous cycle was, like, in front of Congress and, like, meeting with government officials and, like, really trying to command the highest power in the land, with his schemes of becoming, like a generational billionaire or trillionaire, who knows? But, now we have a bunch of, like, uh, Gen Z streamer types who are just out there to like rug their community. I don't know if you've ever been on like TikTok and looked at the not the pre-recorded content, but like the live content concerning crypto. Almost all of it is people like live streaming like 100K shitters on Pump Fun and
Yeah.
just trying to like get people to buy the token so they can dump on them and make a few bucks. Like it's
But
really dumb.
the question is like I don't blame them, especially like some of these Gen Z streamers. I think they're doing great for themselves. The question is like, why are we as like a general society, not as individuals, but as a general society, why are we like consuming that level of content rather than like the stuff that we perhaps used to watch a lot more last cycle?
Yeah.
It's because of like there's something clearly there. People enjoy it or people like it, which is why they're watching it.
I don't know. I install and then uninstall TikTok at uh, random times. I think
But
that
this is like one of the most used apps in the world. Like people love it, and so yeah, there's I don't know if it's to do with kind of how our brains are being wired now and
yeah,
how the dopamine kind of hits of like flicking up on our screen like every 5 seconds like plays a role. I don't know if that plays a role or if there's something else as well. But they've clearly managed to crack this algorithm with users, and I you know I don't think you can I don't think you can blame anyone other than like, yeah, I don't think you can blame any one specific person. I think if people are going to take advantage of it, there's a market opportunity for them, and they're probably thinking about what their upside is.
yeah. Well, I mean, like, have you been on TikTok Live?
Never, no.
Oh man, it's you should probably not
Gonna
go.
try it.
Yeah, I mean, like, go check it out. I think you should probably stay away because it's just pure saccharine, like destruction of the mind and soul. But
Yeah.
they've really brought a lot of the things that I've been talking about here into reality. Maybe not using crypto, but they have like gifts that you can give to people. Uh,
Yeah.
and people make entire livings just getting TikTok gifts.
So the question is like, who are the people who are like paying to give people virtual gifts and like to these people for doing certain things?
I mean, it's like one step down from like porn streaming, right?
Like, who are the people who are doing this, and like, what is their motivation behind it?
I don't know. I don't know. It's like Gen Z, like fried brain warp.
But the thing is, right, it's not the Gen Zs that are, like, paying for this stuff because the Gen Zs don't have money.
You're exactly. They don't have any money.
So who is it that's paying for the lifestyle of these Gen Z influencers?
I don't know. I we should have a like maybe Trump should look into this. Um,
I don't know either, but, I don't blame the streamers. I think they just see an opportunity for themselves and they're taking it. And
yeah.
I think in the world that we live in right now, your traditional kind of jobs, can't compete with something like this at all, you know?
Mhm.
If you're a teacher or a nurse or a doctor or an engineer, you might earn more, like, just being on like, streaming all day. So why wouldn't you just do that? You could do it in the comfort of your home. You don't need a qualification. You don't need any debt. You just need your phone and yourself, you know?
Yeah. I had you've seen these surveys about how most kids want to be streamers now.
Yeah, yeah. I think most people want to be a YouTuber now. I think that's like the most popular job of like people in young kids in school.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was like Biden era. It was Bidenomics. Now we have like 18-year-old kids who are being shoved into the government to like get into the treasury payment system. And you know, their claim to fame is that they've used AI to translate the outer pages of these 1800-year-old like burnt scrolls from Vesuvius that they've dug up. And these are the kids that they're unleashing, like 1819, like whiz kids, with LLMs and AI and a massive understanding of computer science. So I have hope. Like I think that like the return of elite level dominance is back, and you know, I've hope for the kids again.
Let's see. Let's see where we end up in the next decade or so.
um, how do you like? I don't want to get into politics too much, and we do have to wrap up in about 3 minutes. But like on the other side of the pond, how do you view all this happening in the States at the moment?
I think, I mean, personally, like, you know, I just enjoy it, right? Like, it's entertainment for a lot of us over here. So, I think, you know, there's that. I think some people probably think about it like, you know, how can they benefit from it? You know, if people are like working in crypto or like exposed to crypto, you know, what's going to be the best for us? But the honest answer is, Sam, we have the same, if not worse, problems over here. So, yeah, I think it's the same everywhere around the world, really.
Yeah. Very cool. I think it's time to wrap up. I did want to talk about Frax's BAMM just right before the end. It came out last night. It's been like a long time coming. We had Sam K on a couple of like 2-3 weeks ago when they were
Nice.
talking about Frax USD. Um, I had kind of written about it before it came out, but I came out and tried it. It's really cool. Like you get non-liquidatable leverage on your loans. Um, and it's pretty cool where the thing that you're essentially giving up is that you're giving up control over the amount of debt that you have to pay back, which is like kind of a little mind-boggling. So if you're in like a ETH USDC pool and the price of ETH goes down, you might have borrowed USDC out of it, but the amount of total debt that you owe goes down as well too. So you might
Understood. That makes sense because of the LP dynamic.
exactly right, but it's the other way as well too. Like they have what's cool is like it allows for leverage and borrowing on any token. So even
Mm.
100,000 or 100K market cap like meme coins, you can borrow out of it with like low liquidity. It's not great, but at least you can borrow out of it. And
Nice.
yeah, which means that like you can get leveraged up on meme coins at like 100K and get this like really crazy like leverage spirals into meme coins. It's worth checking out. I was messing with it last night, and I'm definitely excited to see how it plays out. It'd be nice if the Frax team would like hire some world-class UX UI designers at some point. That's a different story, but they are
Yeah.
like the kings of like infra contract tech. So
Yeah.
worth checking out.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely give it a go. I've been waiting for BAM for a long time actually as well.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. Thanks for coming on and chatting.
Always a pleasure. Always
Yeah.
a pleasure. We'll do it again sometime soon as well.
Yeah, definitely. Well, everybody at home who's here and has been tuning in, thanks for being here, and we will see you next time. Oh, also go check out FX Protocol, our sponsors.